Now, let's stay with Italian things. Enzo Maresca to Chelsea. They have reportedly agreed to appoint Big Enzo as their new head coach, but it's not been officially announced. So if the deal collapses, again, just moments after we've recorded this podcast, then up yours.
Firstly, well done on pointing out he's Italian, because Jeff Stelling did, I think, an hour on TalkSport yesterday where he was saying he was Spanish and then apologised for it in the second hour.
Oh, leave Jeff alone.
Don't do it in the second hour.
It's good that he apologised.
It's good.
Good on you, Jeff.
How much of that is because he spent a bit of time, a decent chunk of time playing in Spain? Well, obviously when he was an active footballer.
Mm-hmm. You're also a cup winner against and scorer against Middlesbrough in the final.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's probably what Jeff was thinking. But also just that he worked under Guardiola. And he assumes it was. Yeah. Everyone's got to be Spanish.
Big Spanish links.
But obviously not. But importantly, not Spanish.
Not Spanish, though. But he is Italian and he is bald. And the Premier League is going to have another baldy in the Premier League managing.
You know what, Marcus?
Everyone's welcome, Andy.
I was researching this and I wonder if that's why Chelsea have gone for him. Because I'm thinking how it's a bit of a thing in European football now, not just because of Guardiola, or maybe partly because of Guardiola. A friend of mine sent me a text earlier in the season, this was in November, saying there are 6 bald managers in the Eredivisie, 33% of the total. But their respective positions in the table are Peter Bosz first, Arne Slot second, Johnny Janssen third at the time, Joseph Hosting fourth, etc., etc. So despite making up 33% of the league, bold managers take up all of the European spots and look set to secure the Eredivisie title, which of course they did because PSV went on to win it, losing only a single game. In fact, the last time a non-bold manager won the Eredivisie was Philip Cocu for PSV back in 2017-18.
Blimey.
Therefore, even Chelsea can't mark this.
Well, Liverpool have taken note, obviously.
Yeah.
We need a control mechanism, though. We need to put a wig on one of them and see what happens.
Yeah.
We need some A/B testing here.
Or we could send one to manage in Turkey. Is that they say bald people have more testosterone, don't they?
I think they're more sensitive to testosterone.
Wouldn't the last thing...
If they get a rash?
Yeah, they just sort of go... They emit hair.
Well, surely the last thing football needs is more testosterone.
To be fair, though, and I believe we're going to mention him perhaps later, Wayne Rooney is more relaxed these days, even though he's still offering people out on
offering himself
social media. Sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah. So maybe there's something in this.
Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, he does seem more relaxed. Are you putting that down to testosterone or a lack of it?
No,
because he's got hair now.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We call him that hair?
Well, what is it then?
Well, it's...
Are you not
it's like the stuff you put dried flowers in, Oasis.
I am going to call that hair.
I'm going to call it fuzz.
Behind his back and to his face. It's very much hair.
There's no behind that face.
Oh, dear. But back to Enzo, though. So it would be very, very odd if he didn't go to Chelsea now. Talks are very advanced, as I say, reportedly.
Even just on the show.
Indeed. According to reports, he has been given a 5-year contract with the option to extend for another year.
Oh, yeah.
I will be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Potteresque.
That's a bit like...
Extend it backwards?
It's a bit like, I don't know if you go into a shop selling tat and you maybe I'll get, I don't know, a key ring or a fridge magnet. Buy 6 things, you get the 7th free. No one's wanting 6 things from the shop.
Exactly that.
Yeah, if you stay for 5, you get an extra year. Yeah, so you should.
Yeah, like during the negotiations when he's like, I'm not signing it, we'll give you a 3-year deal. It's like, I want 6, and you have to take it, mate. Good luck.
Here's the list of clauses. Oh, that goes all the way out the room. He's impressed the Chelsea board, of course, when he was detailing his plans on how to get the best out of the team, specifically a fellow Enzo in Fernandes, and how they can get everybody flourishing at Stamford Bridge. Now, to be honest with you, Vish, it's not surprising the board have been impressed by Maresca, because we've all been impressed by him this season, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, he could bring in, to impress that board, he could bring in one of Pete's yo-yos. Do a couple of trades.
Just a walk in the dark.
Yeah, well, it's interesting when you look at, I suppose, a lot of things that Leicester did this season, and then, like, if we roughly say that he's going to try and transfer as much of that as possible to Chelsea, you find you can look at the Chelsea squad and find the players that would do the things that he did with Leicester to a higher standard, you'd say. For example, the way he used fullbacks, very similar to Guardiola.
It's I
kind of didn't want to say it, but essentially, yeah. But also little things like giving fullbacks a bit more freedom, like primarily to come inside, but also like getting wingers to isolate their opposing fullback and basically create one-on-one battles here and there, which is basically, you look at the Man City squad and how they've done it. You can see that in action. And you look at Chelsea squad and you're like, God, well, I mean, they've got a lot of players who do like doing that.
Yes.
So it makes a sensible fit. I suppose, though, the only other thing that I think is a bit of a minor complication here at the moment is the fact that he's someone that doesn't have a problem having a go at people above him. And I don't think Bowley and the people at Chelsea like that.
No.
And we're going to see a stage this season where that's going to come to the fore. Because I actually think Pochettino was quite diplomatic.
Yeah,
the
Pochettino
season.
is fairly diplomatic, actually.
But I don't think Maresca is necessarily going to be that way because I feel like he feels like he belongs there at this level.
Would you rather have a coach who's got that sort of demeanour but understands his place as just a coach, or someone who's more diplomatic like Pochettino but who thinks that he should be the manager?
And that clearly was an issue.
That's the problem. Really,
yeah, but I think if you're Bowley and you're looking at how the last couple of seasons have panned out, you kind of want the fans on your side, don't you? Like he's clearly someone who really vibes with the idea of being popular.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
And
the way he was spending that money earlier this season was purely to curry favour, essentially.
Do you not think that the way that the Premier League and Chelsea in particular, being such a big club and such a moneyed and storied club in recent history, is going to find the way that he operated in Leicester? Remember when they had that wobble, sort of, was it turn of the sort of December, where they started off a bit of a
10
wobble?
points clear or something.
Yeah.
And then
a little bit later than that, actually.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And he just stuck to. He's a real stickler for sticking to his plan.
very sticky stick.
And he's a sticky stickler. Do you not think that that's going to really rub the fans up the wrong way? Because they love, just talking shit about every small minutiae of the team.
Do you know what, actually? To give Chelsea fans maybe a little bit of credit here is actually they've seen a lot of managerial changes there.
Yes.
And yes, perhaps, Benitez wouldn't want to give them any credit. So, but if you think about, if they can see improvement, then I think that they're not actually one of the more pushier fan
I agree.
bases.
Chelsea fans at large have been, and particularly Chelsea fans in the stadium,
Yeah.
have been way more patient than you would expect.
I agree.
Given that they've
Yeah.
come out
Particularly
of,
this season as well.
Yeah, given that they've come out of like a decade and a half of pretty consistent trophies into what's just bare transition, really, isn't
Yes.
it? And I think they've been okay with that.
But yeah,
they've understood. Really.
Well, I think they do understand, and they're used to it as well. And I think that they can have an air of patience, and also, you don't. And this is not a dig at all, but you don't have to necessarily win with style there, if you see what I mean. With other fans, we want to play a certain way, and I'm not chastising fans.
No,
for
you
thinking
don't
that.
attach Chelsea to any particular style of football.
Indeed,
so you can
which has kind of served them quite well.
The fact that they're really
in terms of
open and
success.
attacking under Ancelotti, the fact that they kind of weren't, particularly with Mourinho the second time.
Yeah. So I think whoever turns up, they kind of go, all right, well, let's see what you got.
Yeah.
And I think
atmosphere-
Maresca is clearly, some Leicester fans, well, I say some again, I wouldn't want to put a percentage on it, but it has been reported, at certain stages, and especially early on in the season, they were a bit like, well, we're passing the ball a lot, we want a little bit more cutting edge or whatever. And then suddenly you see these things come into fruition. You go, bloody hell, we're the best team in the league. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and everyone has that period, don't they?
Of course, yeah. I understand that.
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure about this.
I find it very interesting that the manager's coming in with a specific kind of plan to fix a player and secure an investment effectively in Enzo Fernandez. Like, is it? He's
a World Cup winning player who's been over 100 million. That is a stick that people beat Chelsea with. So if he comes in and says,
do you not think because he played in that Argentina side that he is in a situation where his club? I mean, Andy would obviously know more than anyone in this room, but like, was it a bit too much too soon for that player in the domestic game?
I think that the move happened 6 months earlier than it might have done, just because he was really, really good at the World Cup.
Right.
I mean, at that point, there was already a lot of interest. Benfica knew there were clubs who would go close to the clause.
Yeah.
But then, as the World Cup started and it started to kick in, and you think, everyone knows everyone. There are no surprises at a World Cup nowadays. But they were really taken aback, Benfica, by the fact that, okay, all of a sudden we've got people ready to meet the clause, like a week and a half, 2 weeks into the World Cup, which has been difficult for him. I think he's actually handled it pretty well. He's got that mindset that you think he can deal with it.
Well, because he was benched for most of the good games they played at the back end of the season, wasn't he? He certainly was injured. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think they'll have an issue either making him into one of their key players or getting a lot of the money back if they sell him. So I wouldn't have said he was one of the big issues. But it's an interesting point you make, Marcus, because I think a coach's job nowadays is not just to instill a style, which will obviously be his thing, and a philosophy to make them successful. Is to protect the value of the assets as well, especially in the Premier League. Because if you're stuck with a massive signing that doesn't work on big wages, obviously with Chelsea having given longer contracts rather than fatter contracts, that's maybe slightly different. But still, like the idea that like Chelsea maybe are going to reach this PSR reckoning where they have to do loads of sales. The idea of wanting to sell players and actually selling players in the Premier League is very different. It's not that easy. It's really not that easy. And if Saudi Arabia hadn't come along, they would be in a massive hole by now, them and lots of other clubs.
No, and we thank Saudi Arabia yet again, Andy, on behalf of the Premier League. Yeah, but that's it though, Vish. I mean, when you said he say someone like Bowley wants to be liked by the fans. I mean, I think that's fair. Who wouldn't want to be if you're in that position? Some more than others, but. Again, if a manager can come along and get something out of a player or a few players that maybe hasn't quite clicked before, then people don't go, well, you blew all that money on him and you blew all that money on him. You go, you feel vindicated as boss. So that is obviously one of the things that attracted to him. But I think, with Kieran McKenna, who we'll talk about in a short while, staying at Ipswich and so on, Maresca became the standout candidate. And again, not a huge CV, but it doesn't always matter, does it? Because I mean, you can have a CV and say, "Well, I've worked here, there, and everywhere," but it doesn't always mean to say you're going to be a success. Manager with zero performance are always tricky anyway. But it's the vibe and it's what's happened at Leicester and it's his coaching education which makes him incredibly attractive. And the way people talk about him is he could be around for many a year, winning many trophies. And of course, Chelsea are one of those huge clubs in the league. Diet Pep is what they called him at Leicester City, which it works.
Well, when you order it in a pub and they don't have Diet Coke.
Is Pepsi all right?
Yeah.
Is Pep all right?
Yeah, I don't know if he's all right with that or not.
I don't know.
Full fat Pep, you mean? but
Pepto-Bismol.
Yes,
when it goes badly, it makes you sick.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Good. Well, he could be around for many years at the top level, Maresca, the way he's going.
Well, yeah, I mean, like he's still early in his managerial career. He's only managed like 70 odd games in his career, full stop. But I suppose he's been around football and specifically English football before that.
We project this onto footballers. I think we're reticent to do that to managers, understandably. But with Maresca, again, to me, it looks like he could go on to be one of the top managers in the game.
That's the whole problem, isn't it? It's because it's Chelsea. Because ideologically, logically, it's a good appointment. It's a solid appointment.
Yeah.
There's logic behind it. There's a philosophy behind it. You can see where they want to go.
But personality-wise, he's spoken up very highly as well. He's not some nutbag who rubs the players up the wrong way and so on. Again, he seems to have the whole lot. And if I was a Chelsea fan with this appointment imminent, I'd be very excited.
Two seasons ago, what you said about if Vincent Kompany joined Chelsea, for example.
Well, we're not talking about Vincent Kompany.
I'm just saying that it's similar sort of a respected manager who's worked in a big system.
You can't know until he's managed in the Premier League, can you? Really?
Yeah.
You can't know.
So what I've said there,
I think going for a philosophy rather than the biggest name in the market. This is a much better appointment than going for Jose Mourinho, for example.
But not for us, but yeah,
not for us, no. But having said that, what evidence do we have that Chelsea will give him the time to work? Now,
that contract, Andy, 5 years with a 6-year.
Are you calling them liars?
Yeah.
Again, Graham Potter.
They're amortising their faith in him across 5 years.
Yeah, that'll be it. Yeah. But I think that's the thing. I think if he gets allowed time and space to work, then great. I just wonder if one of the issues is the fact that Chelsea had such a good run-in under Pochettino. If it hadn't have gone like that, say if it had gone like the rest of the season, say the first half of Chelsea's season was their entire season, and Pochettino has to go, it's maybe easier for Maresca then. You get more time. Whereas now, I think some things is maybe a little bit expected.
Yeah, you get a little bit of feeling that you have to continue the blueprint a little bit. And if you start making changes that you would have made anyway, people are going to judge you a little bit harsher than you would do, I suppose.
I think he's going to be a hit, chaps. I really do. I think it's a very exciting appointment for Chelsea. Again, providing it does actually go through, which all the sources and reports suggest it will.
Sauce.
You just have to be around Pep long enough to
Absorb
to get
some of
like
it,
a plum
yeah.
job like this, don't you? Jules Breach has spent more time with Guardiola this season. Sorry, with Guardiola even.
Yeah,
you never know.
Yeah. It's been reported that Kieran McKenna will stay at Ipswich Town. He is expected to sign a 4-year contract, which would see him become the 6th highest paid manager in the Premier League, alongside Ange Postecoglou and Sean Dyche. I mean, we don't know if he's going to be crap or not, Vish?
Well, he's played a blinder, hasn't he?
He has played a blinder.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, he was linked with Man United. They're not a small club, and they have got deep pockets. But the man's family owns a hotel, and he knows real estate, and he knows that rat infestations are not a good idea.
or holes in roofs.
Yeah, or holes in roofs. No, let's not. It's the death knell for any company, he says to himself as he walks away.
Or bad emails, hotels. Bad emails. No, we don't have your booking.com reservation.
Indeed. Much has been spoken about Kieran McKenna, of course. And it is great that these two sides that got automatic promotion from the Championship, both managers have been talked about in such glowing terms. Now, obviously, one is about to go, but it's good that he's going to stay, Andy, because it would have been, let's be honest, there's something about Maresca to Chelsea which I kind of get more, if you see what I mean. I think it's a shame for Leicester. I would have liked him to stay at Leicester just to see what he could have done. But as Leicester have, Leicester, we forget, won the Premier League and won the FA Cup and played in the Champions League. You kind of expect that turnover of manager maybe a little bit more. Ipswich are much more special. The fact he took him from League One and up. We're all glad that he stayed.
Yeah, totally. I agree with what Luke said the other day. It would have been really sad if he'd have gone straight away. And I think just to have that season stabilising with Ipswich in the Premier League is a great idea because, as you say, it's all happened so fast. But people have been talking about him as a potential future big coach for a really, really long time. So I think for him to suss out the Premier League with Ipswich is a great idea. I don't like the idea of us glossing over your campaign to get Jamie Vardy to be player manager of Leicester.
That was for the WhatsApp group, Andy, and I'd like to stay there among all my other ideas.
And let's keep the WhatsApp group to the WhatsApp group. For all our sake.
Who says no?
Manifesto.doc is not for public consumption.
I mean, that is a point, though. We just talked about Maresca loads there. Leicester City will need a manager. And all right, fine. I'll give him a pick behind the curtain. I'd like a Jamie Vardy player manager situation.
Yes,
what could go wrong?
The defence, probably.
Yeah.
The pre-season tour?
I've picked myself. Yeah, there is that. Yeah, he's got to start on the first game of the season. That's crucial. I've picked myself up front. Who's playing at the back? Sort it amongst yourselves. Yeah. What do you want me to do? Everything?
Are we pressing? Well, I'm not.
I think with Kieran McKenna, it's really important for Ipswich, though. The fact that, of course, they've a few key loan players. Like you think Amari Hutchinson that they'll try and get back. I don't really know whether that's possible. But when you've had such a rapid rise and when you've got to the Premier League, you want to try and keep that magic in the bottle. And a bit like Xabi Alonso staying at Leverkusen, if a coach of that sort of personality, who everyone has such confidence in, stays, it just sends a message to the squad.
Yeah, it does.
And so you don't want that season falling apart before it's even started. Because you think Ipswich are a fairly big club with a fairly big stadium, which will sell out every week. It'll be an incredible atmosphere at Portman Road, at least for the first half of the season. So, you want to try and keep that going, don't you? I mean, that would be really exciting for the Premier League.
I'd be amazed if any of the Ipswich players got their head turns because, as you say, it's such a special thing that's going on. And to be honest with you, I think that the fact that the system has been key there, and McKenna is the star. I don't think that a lot of them will, or maybe even any of them will be picked off. I think it would be more likely if maybe that happened to Leicester. But again, Leicester being the club they are, feel that they're a Premier League club because they have been for so long.
Well, you look at their wages in the Championship, and it's reflective of that.
Yeah,
Premier League, they've been playing Premier League players,
and they may well have to face the music on some of their spending.
That's another thing for Leicester, isn't it?
Yeah. But I find it interesting though that in the Championship, in this season or the season that just finished, that the three teams that got promoted, it is a possession-based style, really. Even Russell Martin at Southampton, I think it just bodes well for.
They're all fresh young coaches as well. Aren't they?
Exactly. I know this is not new. I don't.
Yeah,
but breaking news.
But I think it's an important point. As is, and this is not to do down what they've done. there's a lot of talent in those squads.
There is.
You've got to have the players to be able to establish that kind of style of play. Yeah. And so, it's not to say, like, if anything, you could look at it the other way. The Championship next season is going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
I think it was Rory Smith on the BBC who was speaking about, I suppose the switching teams of 3 coming down and 3 going up. Next season is going to be proper old school Championship.
Well, he said,
because you
didn't
look
he,
at it on paper and you're like, ooh, like where are the favourites here? Could you pick the top 6? Certainly not now.
Well, he said Leeds should be fancying it.
Yeah,
no,
that was it.
and I know the last thing they're looking forward to is getting back on the Championship bandwagon of next season.
Oh, they're looking forward to avoiding the playoffs, I can tell you that.
No, Wembley, please.
Yeah, indeed. Back in the Premier League, it is still uncertain what will happen at Manchester United. So Jim Ratcliffe is said to be conducting an end-of-season review this week, when they'll decide on
the investigation.
Just put him
He's
out of
booked
his
down the
misery.
meeting room.
Yeah.
Gareth's investigation. I mean, hasn't he offered a load of staff, because he's making everyone work from the office, isn't he? He's moving. He's not allowing anybody
He's one
to
of
work from
those.
home. He's one of
Yeah.
those kind of
Yeah.
like Tory weirdos, and he kind of. And he's basically offered them to have their bonus early if they want to take redundancy.
Oh.
It's just
Yeah.
yeah.
Basically. And
So
people
Ten
not
Hag could have his little bonus early.
That's giving you flashbacks to a previous job.
It's a little bit.
People
Yeah.
not-
There was no bonus.
It wasn't redundancy, it was a payoff.
it was hush money.
Yeah, never come back here.
They legitimately just bought my security pass off me. That was my bonus.
That's quite well played from you.
Yeah.
It was on eBay, to be fair, which is why this whole thing happened.
Look, you can play one-off fee and you don't have to bid like everyone else. Or
I don't know.
He's going to bring fish to the office.
Yeah, if you were Ten Hag though, you would. I know he doesn't get to keep the FA Cup, but you would, get the key to the cabinet and then bring that to the interview with
Right.
Ratcliffe
Yeah.
and
Okay.
go,
Nice.
come on.
Yeah. Stick it on your head.
And then just start drinking out of it if he sacks you. Yeah.
Well, despite everything that's happened, it still wouldn't astonish me if Man United start next season with Eric Ten Hag still as
And then sack him about a month in.
yeah, so the thing I thought about it is, we've talked a lot about like the processes that Ineos have gone through since they've arrived, and it feels a little bit like diary of a CEO type stuff, whereby they work out. Basically, the attractive thing to do right now would be to make the hardest decision, to pull the lever on the hardest decision, which at this specific juncture is sacking Ten Hag after he's won the FA Cup, which is why I think they're going to do it, because they'll sit down and be like, well, the league hasn't gone well. Yes, he's done that. He's was able to bring the players together at the last big game of the season.
Yeah.
And so to sack him now would be a tough decision, which is why we should take it.
But it's like Sunak calling an election. I want to be seen as a leader who's in control. This makes me look like I'm in control.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and then there
even though it fucks everything up.
Yeah, there is a bit of that, because I think even with what Pete's saying there about the email about redundancies that went out last week, that it pertains to everyone not involved in the performance side of things on the men's and women's teams. They've made quite a few decisions that have been put out in the media, not necessarily by them, but through leaks, that are basically going for low level staff and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think people have much struck with that, because that's not the reason United are where they are. You make one change at the top and suddenly you've saved yourself a shitload of money.
No, I mean it's
And
not
wet
quite.
seats.
Yeah, it's not quite
Well,
on the
literally at the
level
top,
of. It's not quite on the level of PSG going to Kylian Mbappe. Well, if you leave for nothing, we're going to have to fire a load of admin staff.
No way!
They did not
do that.
Which is.
And he went, oh, I'll just hire him.
Yeah,
exactly.
You open a TikTok
You've
account.
not seen the size of my house in Madrid.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing is here, I'm not necessarily saying it would be the wrong thing to sack Eric Ten Hag, but especially after the season that's gone. But I think if you look at the other clubs who've been out there, the other big clubs who've been out there looking for coaches, look at the Chelsea situation and what the field was. Look at the Bayern Munich situation, what the field was, who turned them down and what they've ended up with. And United are considerably more unstable, you could argue, at the moment. So I know it's meant to be the cardinal sin of football to talk to another coach behind current manager's back, etc., where realistically that's what you have to do. But they definitely need to get their ducks in a row before they take a decision on Ten Hag. Because I wonder if what's out there at the moment, you can't sack him and have nothing in place.
Yeah.
That's what you can't do, because then it becomes this massive, great saga. And before you know it, next season is fucked.
And also, if a bit like what we were just saying, that if they've got no one there, the person coming in has got way more leverage.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
you'd say that anyway.
I would say
particularly.
I would say with the market being as it is, that is the least of your problems.
Yeah, and at this point, Mark Goldbridge would probably turn it down.
Yeah, maybe.
Mm.
I don't know whether that would be good or not for us. One club who do have the ducks in a row is Aston Villa. Unai Emery signed a new 5-year contract there.
After that finish, he should be ashamed.
I know. Were they not at Palace that day when they were hammered?
It would be funny if he takes the table to them and they're like, "What's the other page? That fixtures? No, I don't need to look at the results. That's the result that matters."
We had our end of season due on that day, and then the season finished. There was nothing more.
When did you have your end of season due in March? No.
What, you want to finish the season at full speed? Inertia, you got to slow down. So there you go.
Oh dear.
Perhaps if it was 5 years, he was picking through the 156 pages of it in fine detail rather than actually coaching the team for the last game.
Could be. I mean, look, they're in the Champions League next season, of course. They're going great guns, and they need reinforcements, and they've been heavily linked with Ross Barkley.
Like it.
I like that
it very
signing.
much.
He knows the club
This Ross Barkley in particular.
better than the previous one they got.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing with the Barkley we saw this season was someone who was actually like more in tune with what you need from a modern midfielder.
Yep.
Sat in the middle. Because, before he was a bit like, he'd play off the striker. He'd be like, it was almost like a Lampard prototype at a stage where suddenly they were like, we kind of need a little bit more Ross.
Yeah.
Do you feel, I mean, obviously, it's always difficult to blame it on sort of one thing. Was it the system? Was it the players? So often all these things are linked. But did you feel someone like Ross Barkley, he suffered a little bit from what one or two English midfielders have in the past, in which they've got a little bit of skill, a little bit of flair, but maybe in the centre he wasn't quite trusted.
Wasn't quite Rooney-itis, I think.
Maybe he wasn't quite.
Is that still a thing? Do you think?
Wasn't sort of mature enough, perhaps, or wasn't. I don't know. Maybe lacked a bit of focus or whatever in games. So, all right, we'll put him out wide, but he's not a wide player.
Yeah, there was an
And
awkward.
it's where do you put him?
There was
for different reasons. Danny Murphy back in the day.
Yeah, although Danny Murphy felt more au fait with like playing in the middle, I suppose, as he did for Fulham later.
I mean, he was great for Fulham. Yeah.
But I suppose the thing with Barkley that was also we should also factor in is like he had a really awkward exit from Everton where he was injured for that first half of the season.
Yeah.
Then went to Chelsea in January.
I mean, difficult to get in that Chelsea side. I understand.
Yeah, but it was almost like he
Especially
kind of
when you're coming back from absence.
yeah he was
Totally.
he was trying to step up from a standing start.
Yeah, sure.
I think it's gonna be. I think it's sad that he might be gotten right at 30 years old, but I think he's a really, really useful player at a time where Villa can't spend all that much money because of FFP, and there's a lot of European teams playing in Europe this season who will be having to worry about that sort of thing. And he's a really smart signing, and like he'll just be breaking up counter-attacks, which is what Emery just does all the time. And I just think I'd love to see him flourish.
He's a good line breaker as well. So him and McGinn would be good.
Yeah, I think it's also worth noting that Villa have got a few players to come back from long-term injury. You look at Emi Buendia, for example; he's going to come back next season as well, which is a definite plus.
Love it.
Barkley once scored a Panenka penalty for England in a penalty shootout. I will love him forever for that. Coming up in the second half, we've got Cristiano Ronaldo being a silly sausage, Pep Guardiola potentially leaving fairly soon, and season ticket prices. See you in a moment.
What song would you listen to in the dressing room before a match?
It's a bit of a strange one, actually. I was telling my kids this the other day. So I'd normally get on the massage bed with Rod, and I'd actually put Susan Boyle on. So it's a bit strange. Wild Horses.
Did you?
Yeah. I don't know, it just helped me settle down, I think.
Welcome back to the Football
He loved
Ramble,
a Hoover,
everybody.
to be fair. He's not that bothered about what it sounds like.
Oh yeah, of course.
Susan Boyle did Wild Horses.
Yeah.
Wow.
We should ask people to Google Susan Boyle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we could put across what she was.
And it is quite difficult, isn't it? I
And do you
suppose,
remember her? Do you remember her album party?
No.
No, what was her album?
Wayne
party?
Rooney sang it.
No, so there was a.
You can say it.
Basically, there was a Susan Boyle album party that they decided to publicise on Twitter and hope for it to get viral, as Twitter as it was at the time. And it was Susan's album party, which you can imagine when hashtagged and placed together.
Oh yeah,
something very
yeah. Good. Yeah, I feel that the album party, that's not a word that you they're not words that go together anyway. So I think they were trying to go viral. So to speak.
I see what you're saying.
Which is always a risk at an album party.
I was about to say. So that was obviously Wayne Rooney being interviewed by Gary Neville. If you haven't seen that,
If you haven't seen Wayne Rooney
I
with
just-
Rod on a massage table,
as Luke
he's
Moore
got
said,
form.
as Luke Moore said, careful. He's Luke Moore. Well, you don't have to be. He admitted it. As Luke
He
Moore
was
said,
signing autographs, Marcus.
as Luke Moore said recently, and I agree with him, Wayne Rooney is now one of the best people in Britain.
Protect him.
I just can't get enough of him at the moment. Whenever he's on anything, I'm like,
Yeah.
he's just brilliant.
He's just willing to ship fellow professionals left, right, and centre.
Yeah.
He's willing to tell stories you've never heard before.
Yes.
And it's all just, jackass style. I've glued some flip flops to the floor, but
Yeah.
I still enjoy it.
I do as
because
well.
none of the other buggers are saying it.
But what I like though about Rooney is that obviously, like, let's be honest, he could beat all of us up if the four of us tried to have him in a fight. That would be the end of us. And he's obviously got that tough exterior and so on. But he's not afraid to, in an interview and stuff, like put himself in a slightly vulnerable position. If you see what I mean, like by admitting things or talking about stuff or what you would want to do in the future. And he's not politician like, which a lot of ex-footballers can be because of their media training. And I get that, again, not a criticism. And it's certainly not a criticism of Rooney. There's an honesty there and I don't know, just a likable quality. Which,
And honestly, that he's never lost despite the fact he came into the game so young.
Yeah, definitely.
There's also, he kind of has a constant expression of a man who's been tapped on the shoulder.
Well, yeah. I mean, where he grew up, maybe you have to look over his shoulder a lot. I don't know. I mean, that story he told when he said he was, 15 or something. And he said that he had a couple
I think he was younger.
Was he 14?
I think he was 14.
When he's had a couple of tinnies in the plastic bag and a fag on, and he goes to cross the road, and the car lets him cross the road, and it's like one of the coaches who's sitting like,
It's the under-19 coach.
What?
Man won the Champions League.
Yeah.
Do you ever give a thumbs up? Do you ever give a thumbs up to a car that lets you buy? Imagine doing that. Oh God, with a tab on.
Oh, super. Well, we look forward to him at Plymouth Argyle.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
And as we said on Monday show, we look forward to his return as well.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah, wow.
I back Wazza to get it right.
There's a lot of honesty at that club at the moment. I think the chairman is basically saying we need this and we need that. We need someone who connects with the fans. He's like, yeah, he also needs some results because he finished rather poorly.
He could really do with a plum job, couldn't he?
He could do with a plum job. But if any of the fans do tick him off, then he will definitely connect with them. One of his former teammates, Cristiano Ronaldo, has been lighting up the Saudi Pro League as it reached its conclusion on Monday night. We were all glued to our TVs. Ronaldo scored twice for Al Nassr to break the Saudi Pro League record for the most goals in a season. One of the man's greatest achievements, I think we can all agree. So he took to X afterwards to mark the achievement, those 35 goals, of course, and he said, I don't follow the records follow me.
So do the allegations.
Yes, true. Very, very true.
So
Yeah. I mean,
Stop being a dick. Do you
Well,
know what I
he
mean?
can't. That's what he's-
Stop coming out with knobbish stuff.
I think that's part of the bind of him being there, isn't it? They've signed Cristiano. You have to be Cristiano.
Well, of course, he doesn't. Not to defend him for a second, but he clearly doesn't do his own social account. That tweet is such a. What would Cristiano Ronaldo say?
yeah.
Yeah, but they've got it right,
Isn't
though,
it?
haven't they?
But I reckon they flag it with him though. Or at the very least, they would have sat down at some point and be like, "Right, does this sound like you?"
What they would
Yes.
have done is they'd have put in, they'd have created an AI interview between him and Piers Morgan. Right, let's take some of the quotes, and it just happens to be spot on.
Do you not think that there's nothing that Cristiano hasn't sort of said yes to? There's not a single thing you would, I'm the god killer of the universe, made rich human or whatever. It's kind of like,
yeah. So if someone drafted a tweet and came to him and was like, right, so we're just gonna tweet here that you're responsible for the Manhattan Project. He's like, yeah, fine. Do that, put that out there, yeah.
fine.
Fire festival.
I am the Fire Festival follows me.
Yeah, so 35 goals in 31 matches, impressive. It is impressive.
It is impressive.
If
Wherever
in a way.
you're playing.
Yeah,
You won't be saying that next year when Michael Antonio gets there and scores 60.
I won't be saying that, Andy.
Casemiro.
No, you won't be saying that.
Who was a distinct second in the goal scoring charts with 28 in 28? That man,
Mitro?
Alexander Mitrovic.
Oh, that's a shame.
He
What follows him? Nothing he doesn't follow in.
the hearts and minds of the Fulham faithful.
Do you reckon he'll be back to the Premier League one time?
No,
all right.
he genuinely looks like he's really enjoying it.
Right.
Like he just loves scoring goals. This is just like, yeah, well, this is a total no-brainer.
Same goal, same oblong shape.
Exactly.
Enjoy it.
You know, an onion bag is an onion bag.
While we're talking about him, and I appreciate I'm jumping ahead a bit here.
Oh, you
but
are.
What are we to expect from Cristiano at the Euros?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Because
Arms in the air, stamping all the usual stuff.
I'm. This is the bind of football, isn't it? But I'm quite looking forward to seeing what he has for us.
I think the interesting thing is it could have been a massive issue that overshadowed the whole Roberto Martinez reign, and he's actually dealt with it quite well.
He has.
Ronaldo has, or Martinez?
Martinez
Right.
has dealt with it quite well because he's still involved, but they're not desperately reliant on him. Of course,
Portugal look good, by the way.
Yeah, their squad is insane.
They do. They do. I wonder. Obviously, they'd probably be better collectively with Gonzalo Ramos leading the line, and he's in really good nick at the moment. But of course, that's the thing. They can whip Ronaldo out at a moment's notice because Fernando Santos did it already.
Yes.
At a World Cup, it's not like Roberto Martinez is thinking, if I leave him out, I'll break the internet.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And I feel like for the ego as well, like that ovation when people see you warming up, when you take your training kit off to go on, and then being brought on. That in itself, the ceremony of that, I think, would appeal to Ronaldo.
Yeah, you're right. He'll look at himself as the super sub, basically.
Yeah.
He also said on socials that he was proud to make history as the first top scorer in 4 countries.
I know we loved throughout the Messi and Ronaldo years to like invent a record as a new way of describing them, but this is ridiculous. He shouldn't be doing it himself. It's like, I can't think of a way to describe my own brilliance.
Yeah.
I think he's got plenty of burner accounts like Kevin Durant.
Oh yeah.
Right.
I reckon.
Like when you see those Chinese kind of bot farms doing the like app views and YouTube watches and
Yes,
stuff like that,
yeah.
where it's just a matrix of like 100 mobile phones
Yeah.
watching videos.
He doesn't tweet from his own account, but he tweets from lots of other accounts.
Yes. Yeah.
Good, could be. Now, everybody, it was reported earlier in the week that Pep Guardiola is expected to leave Man City at the end of the season when his contract expires. So that would be next summer, in case you think I've gone mad. So, yes, this has been floating around this chat. Obviously, Pep said recently that he's closer to the end of his Man City career than the start, which was slightly cryptic, one could say, or slightly obvious, one might say.
It's factual.
Yeah,
isn't it?
but, all bald frauds must come to an end at some point, Andy. It wouldn't be a shock if he left in summer of 2025.
The shock that he's stayed so long, really.
Well, that is the surprise, isn't it?
Yeah.
He was, what we had to go on before at Barcelona and Bayern, but they were very different situations and circumstances. At Barcelona, he was utterly exhausted.
He was.
At the end, and
He was Tony Blair by the end of that, wasn't he?
Completely.
Yeah.
And because it's Barcelona and his home city and blah 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 blah. That would provide more emotional stress than perhaps elsewhere. At Bayern, he'd kind of done everything really other than the Champions League, and I think he wanted that challenge of the Premier League. The club has been set up almost like in his image, really.
Yeah,
and he has so much. Like, where do you go from here is the question. And I've no idea where he would go from Manchester City, because he will leave at some point, whether it's next summer or in goodness knows how long.
I think he maybe takes Brazil at long last.
Oh, nice.
I think because they've got
Now
a coach.
then.
They've got a coach who's a kind of stopgap, permanent coach in Dorival Junior.
And they're desperate for someone to grab this
I don't
team.
reckon will last, because they thought they were going to get Ancelotti and they didn't.
Yes.
There's always been that sort of feeling between Guardiola and Brazil. They wanted him before. He was interested in it before. And that to me seems the logical next step, breaking through the fourth wall for Guardiola. That'll be the interesting thing. Because you're right. In terms of a club job, what could be more perfect than Manchester City for him? Because as Manchester City, as well as setting up exactly the executives and the football brains trust around him that he wanted, they directly looked at what had happened. They prepared for him to get that job for years. So they looked at what he found too much at Barcelona. So all the contingent pressure. So he's more than a coach. He was like a manager there. They looked at what went well at Bayern. The fact that he just had to coach the team and just be a football sado, really, and just be obsessed with that. And they've allowed him to do that. And I think that's why he's stayed longer than he wanted. I mean, it's basically like Manchester City is like footballing Disneyland for him.
Well,
you know, you're there and you think, you know what? I've already been on the Millennium Falcon twice, but I'm going to do it again.
But when a source at the club described how Pep had affected Man City, he said Pep enjoys carbonara. He wants that every day, the best. He doesn't want to then go to fried rice instead, which I think's
confusing
very
for the Italian
Fried rice is better than carbonara.
Well, exactly, yeah. Carbonara.
Yeah, not diet. I do. To be fair, I would disagree with that. I do like a carbonara over fried rice. Weirdly, even though my
Are you
Chinese.
joking?
Yeah,
You do so much of fried rice.
You amaze me
I
there,
know.
Peter. But fine.
Right. If I could get carbonara and a Chinese, I would.
With fried rice.
With fried
There's
rice.
your answer.
With fried rice mixed in,
There you
yeah.
are, you see.
But like, do you think, Andy, like, no other club will mortgage their future like they have done, other than Man City? Like,
No, PSG would want him because they would want the
Yeah,
Champions League.
yeah.
But look at how much
that's
trouble
a
they're going to
great
get
shout.
into eventually.
Eventually,
They could be
Peter.
kicked out of the
Who are you
league.
talking about, Man City or PSG? I think PSG would be the only one, and it's an
Yeah.
obvious one. I'm not sure Pep would be that interested, but the thought of him going into international football management, where we would only see him a few times a season, I don't
You
know.
don't think we see him in the stands? He'd rock up to training grounds to watch his.
He
players.
would, and that's the thing. The energy that he has, I understand at some point we say this about Klopp as well, but Guardiola is such a football pervert. You know what I mean? Like he's attacked it, the whole, he needs to be writing on boards, watching, showing the players the videos of this, that and the other and on the training ground. I can't see him doing international
don't you
management
think
for a while.
Can I throw one international team in there?
England.
The Netherlands.
Nah.
Who better that, like, there's always this conversation about Dutch football having lost its soul to a point.
Yeah, but he never...
It would be amazing. I think
get why you're saying that,
He might bring back Cruyff and a seance.
He's not likely to do. He might. Oh, God.
There's a 3-word problem. He likes money. And you're not going to get that managing the Netherlands.
I'm just saying the Dutch have ways.
Well, culturally as well.
I'm sorry, I want to hear more from Fish on this.
Save it for a cup.
But culturally, do I think that the Brazilian squad are a bit more fun-loving than his Manchester... No, Grealish. Ignore what I just said there.
Well,
a bit more
worry about
fun-loving
that.
than-
No, but I think with Brazil not having reached even a semi-final of a World Cup since 2002, you know, there is something.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, he's still very much at Manchester City. Do we think he's going to leave next summer? I suppose is.
I think so.
Yeah.
And do you know what? At this point, I think, as amazing as he's been, everything he's given to the English game, it'd just be a good thing for English football.
Yeah.
I think in terms of flattening the playing field, because
He develops some of our players, though, Andy. He does more for the England national team than the FA, arguably.
I think Foden's fine now.
Okay, but what about Rico Lewis? Hey, wait until he becomes a star like Foden, then you can leave.
You can still FaceTime him.
True.
I mean, that way you don't have to get into the Nathan Redmond clutch, do you?
No,
You're at safe distance.
Well, his contract is due to terminate in the middle of next summer's Club World Cup.
It's
So if he
almost
wants
as
to
if-
conquer that, Andy,
It's almost as if it's a ridiculous tournament with a ridiculous schedule that bears no thought to how football actually works and what might be healthy.
Very true. On that, Andy, let's talk about Premier League price rises for season tickets. Yes, this is a controversial one. A lot of fans have been raising concerns and anger, quite frankly, at their clubs putting up season ticket prices. It's been revealed that 13 clubs are set to raise the cost of season tickets for next season. The average price will increase by £35, with Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth raising prices by over 18%.
Jeez.
Arsenal ticket prices are rising by £100, the most in total value. And that's what you get for finishing second in the league, everybody. You want more of that? You want more of that near title winning stuff? You're going to have to pay for it.
Well, it is just getting silly and atrocious and abhorrent. It's like, if you want to run the entertainment like Taylor Swift and you want your gouging and your
thrusting.
sliding scale on the old tickets and stuff, right? Fine, but you need to give us more for our money. We've got dilapidated stadiums, transport links not worth anything, and 10 quid pints, and we need better. We need an O2 experience. To be quite frank, we need to be able to get in and get out really easily, not be treated like cattle, just shoved into really small places with no. We need more like American
but that's
style
Manchester
NFL
United.
stadiums.
That's fine. But
But yeah, what's our halftime entertainment?
Taylor Swift.
drunk woman from Norwich shouting at us. You know what I mean? That's the
Yeah.
Premier League entertainment. They need to make this bigger.
On
What about
a specific
what's
club
wrong
on a
with-
specific night?
Yeah,
that was.
what's wrong with penalties against the mascot?
Exactly, yeah. I want access to dipping dots. I want
Careful.
decent hot dogs. I want hog roasts on every stand. Because at the moment now, you just get...
You need to go to Arsenal, my friend.
I know, yeah. I don't know. I just don't think we're getting much for our money, to be honest.
I think that you say that,
Nice.
doesn't Gunnosaurus save penalties now? It's a more
Right.
realistic experience.
Well, didn't Arsenal fan TV, one of them got really into the fact that he wanted to take a penalty at the Emirates against Gunnosaurus, and he got like into the middle distance. I'd like to do that. Why are they letting the kids do it? Why are they letting the kids take penalties against Gunnosaurus? I want to do that.
AFTV find new ways to disgrace themselves, and it's almost to be admired at this stage.
But Pete's point is an important one because it's as much about the way that fans can't afford to go to football anymore as that they're getting less for their money.
They're running it like NFL. Like, NFL tickets are quite rightly very expensive, but it's a massive product, and
But
there's just not-
the in-game in-stadium experience is much better.
yeah, exactly.
It's much more enjoyable.
You can spend a day there. You can spend a day at a baseball stadium.
You're not
You
meant
can
to.
spend a day at NFL stadium. You can't. It's in and out, like last minute, just running from the pub into the place to see,
And I understand.
team lose.
I understand your point about American sports. I certainly wouldn't defend ticket prices of NFL and all that kind of stuff. But I get the point. But the comparison is the fact is they're different sports.
But that's
No,
where
no, no,
but
no,
that's
no,
where it's going, isn't it? That's what they.
No,
want.
no,
That's
no, no,
that's the blueprint
well,
for Spurs Stadium and stuff. That's
Indeed. But in terms of what you can do and what you can't do, they're different sports, different sporting cultures. That doesn't mean to say you can't make maybe the experience better. I don't know, but I don't think that fans are looking for gimmicky ways. I think they want to watch the football.
But they're looking for value for their money, aren't they? They're looking for better
let me
facilities.
get there because I don't think they're looking for. I don't give a damn about what happens on the pitch at halftime. Personally, I want to watch the match. I don't need any sort of flashing lights and dancing or whatever. But what I don't want to do is pay over the odds, and that is the problem. I don't think people are looking for anything particularly different from the product they already get. They just don't want to have to spend ridiculous amounts of
And
money.
I think
I think that's it. With
I
football fans.
agree, and I think there needs to be some sort of football-wide recognition of how hard life is for a lot of people and how expensive life
Especially the
is
last
for a
few
lot of
bloody
people.
years.
But to me, it feels I'm almost tempted to say this is reflective of British society and the fact that stuff is expensive and people will end up paying it because we're not really a nation that has a culture of protest or anything like that, or effective direct action protest. Really, I mean, it's really interesting at a moment when Fortuna Düsseldorf, who almost got promoted to the Bundesliga, they went out on pens in the playoff on Monday night. They have floated an idea this season. They're moving towards a system where they're going to let fans in for free. So they're going to get sponsors to cover it. So they've done it for 3 games this season.
So that would be quite similar, in if you will, to when some people suggest that all football shouldn't be, all football should be free to air to TV, because then you can get the sponsors and advertisers because you got more eyes on it.
So it's like ticketed, but it's free. But I think that's part of the German recognition, or maybe a logical endpoint to the German recognition, that you need the fans, and you need the fans to create the televisual spectacle as much as anything
But we
else.
learned this in COVID, which was not that long ago, by the way.
Exactly. If you've ever seen one of those, I'm sure I've said this before, but you know the Sky Sports Premier League years, if you see the one from 2021, you'll turn it off in 5 minutes.
It is weird.
It's just rubbish.
It is.
But I think, and you look at the fact that German fans as well have a better understanding of the fact that there are some things. Of course, there are rivalries, but there are some things that you are united over that are the greater good. And what I think as fans, we've been in the Premier League, we've been traditionally quite bad at. If it's like 60 quid to get into an away match at Arsenal, and Man City fans complain about that, Arsenal fans go, "Oh, well, it costs a load of money to get into your ground. Leave my club alone." It shouldn't be leave my club alone. It should be, this is good for all of us if tickets are cheaper. Now, of course, the Super League should have been the turning point in this, because we saw incredible collective strength that supporters have. Now, the FSA are doing loads of good things on this already, but
they're up against it, but God bless them, though.
Yeah, exactly. There needs to be a moment that fans come together and say, look, enough is enough. And I think this is it.
Until that happens, we know that this is just going to go on and on and on.
Yeah, of course. They'll take as much as they can.
Let's hope there is some call to action or something that happens, because, as you say, in that great point with the Super League, that was the elite clubs trying to boss everybody around.
It was over in a day.
Indeed it was, and what a great day it was.
There was.
Oh dear. Right. Tonight we've got Olympiacos versus Fiorentina.
Talking the Super Leagues.
There you go. In the Conference League final, the Super Conference League final. Fiorentina back in the final. Obviously, they were beaten by West Ham United. Olympiacos looking for a first ever European trophy. Fiorentina's last European trophy did come in 1961, so it will feel like a whole new experience for the vast majority of those fans. Who do you fancy for it, Vish?
I want to see Fiorentina do it.
Do you? Just because of the nice kits?
Yeah, well, that as well. But it feels like they're in a bit of a better space generally. They had quite a good end to the season, and I think maybe the Villa result is a little bit overblown because Villa are a bit knackered, but as good as Olympiacos were.
I mean, if Fiorentina if they win this, then as Andy pointed out earlier on the show, that Serie A, the top 9 will be in Europe next season. So Torino will slip in there, which is incredible. When
but Napoli won't.
No, Napoli will not be there.
Defending champions won't. Yeah.
Defending champion of all the seasons to finish 10th.
It's quite good. Vincenzo Italiano, am I right saying so he's on the way out, and there's a chance he might replace Giacomotta of Bologna, but he's also linked to the Forest job.
Uh-huh.
So if he beats Olympiacos, Maradakis' other club, he might think, well, I'll have him then.
Yeah. But Olympiacos, of course, will be relishing this because the match is being played at AEK Athens Stadium, which behind Panathinaikos, they are their biggest rival.
Yeah, so you've got to think...
What an opportunity.
Our ultimate bragging rights, isn't it?
Yeah.
Say we won the first ever Greek European trophy at Philadelphia. That'd be pretty amazing.
Can we throw a party at your house? No, you're not invited.
This is like a Facebook party, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where it just gets really out of control.
No.
Yeah. I think Olympiacos will win this. I would like Fiorentina to win this.
I'd be gutting for them if they lost another final.
I know they've become the Valencia of the Conference League going back 25
Or
years.
Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think...
Although they've won the Europa League.
The difference is in Ayoub El-Kabi, they've got someone who can put the ball in the back of the net. And that's what Fiorentina don't have to the same extent.
Yeah. Be nice to see some former Fiorentina players in the stands for this one. I'm thinking Gabriel Batistuta.
I was thinking Rui Costa.
Just get him in there.
Rui Costa would be lovely, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, Benfica are having quite a bad time at the moment. He's the president of Benfica, and it's one of those situations where you can't be seen to be having a good time outdoors.
You were going to say they're having a bad time at the moment. To the president, go over there, have a lovely evening in Athens.
Just relax.
Take your mind off things.
Exactly.
Cheers for watching another fantastic clip from the Football Ramble podcast. Make sure you click like on this video and subscribe to the channel, which means you will not miss a single upload.